I would say that there are consistent themes that we've seen for the last 20, maybe even 30 years. I would look at out-of-home delivery as part of meeting the consumer's requirements. You're not thinking about the consumer, I don't think you're thinking about the future.
Here we are again at WMX Europe, Rome edition, and now with Michael Anderson, moderator, independent consultant. Michael, you recently launched your own company, Place-B Consultancy. What's your role with your clients? Which are the challenges that you are collecting from them, and how you help them?
I would describe it very simply as I have 30 years experience in this industry. So I'm trying to use that experience to help people make better decisions. Now that could be about the design of their operation, the operation itself. It could be about their investment decisions, or as a technology company, it could be, is the product that they're bringing to market going to sell, going to appeal to logistics companies? And then working with carriers, with buyers, to try and help them understand what are the technology investments they should be making, also the carriers they're using. And how are they going to make sure that their choice of those investments is ultimately right for e-commerce and for their buyers? So hopefully that's given you a flavour of what I'm hoping to achieve with Place-B.
Yes, absolutely true. Michael, a long-term career on which I assume you have seen a lot of major shifts. You have been through mail, parcel, e-commerce, cross-border too. And how do you see parcel businesses bridging to new things, and how are they building their long-term strategy?
Yeah, there's two types of activity within the market, and I would say that there are consistent themes that we've seen for the last 20, maybe even 30 years. So the growth of e-commerce, and I don't know what the number is, but you're now talking hundreds of billions of dollars of e-commerce related revenue associated with parcels. That growth has not stopped. And even if you take a percentage of 3% CAGR just in Europe, which is a fairly flat market, you're adding hundreds of millions of parcels. So the growth is there. The trends within the market, we've been talking about certain things for a very long time, and it's not because the market hasn't fixed them, it's just that they're really important. So cross-border has been huge for a very long time because markets evolve over time. So whether it's due to economics or just scarcity of product. And then, of course, we talk about out-of-home delivery. I would look at out-of-home delivery as part of meeting the consumer's requirements. Because ultimately, e-commerce works where a product is able to be delivered to a client in a way that the client finds acceptable. And that's how we've seen out-of-home evolve. Firstly, as an operational solution, because it was expedient to reduce the amount of items not being delivered. But now it's about convenience, and it's about the technology that can support that, because 20 years ago, there wasn't the technology and we're still using paper manifests to hand over an item. Now the technology's reached the point where it's meeting the consumer element. So I think those themes are there and are evolving because ultimately they're meeting consumer requirements. And that's where, if the market's going to continue to be successful and everyone has a win-win-win across the piece and ultimately has to make money, it's about, do you satisfy the consumer? So you're not thinking about the consumer, I don't think you're thinking about the future.
Yes, you have to be successful, and out-of-home for sure is a convenience for everyone. And yesterday we were together at the out-of-home panel, you were moderating. Do you think that we already reached the tipping point in out-of-home, meaning is already mainstream, or we are far from it?
I think we're now mainstream in pretty much all the markets in Europe, in so much as if the out-of-home option is not already in place and at volume of more than 10% of the market, there is a vision that says it will be at some point in the future. And again, it comes back down to the convenience element, whereas before, Apudo was effectively a retail outlet and lockers were something that was only marginally available. But that growth in lockers has been so prominent and so successful for everyone involved that you're right, the tipping point has been reached. And it's now a case of how much and when will lockers, what the ceiling of that level of usage will be. That's the next question.
And now let's talk about AI. It's no more a buzzword, it's everywhere and it's transforming logistics too. Which are the most interesting use cases you have seen so far, and which could be the next big thing, or underestimating innovation that are still missing the market?
Yeah, I mean, I think AI it's a buzzword, but ultimately I think there's two main components to it. The first, which is often not talked about, is computational power. If you compare the computers, the processing capability that we have now compared to 10 years ago, the number is off the scale. Yeah. And that's what's powering the capability to ultimately use data. So what I've seen, and I've been lucky enough to work for a third-party integrator that's using a degree of AI in its decision-making, the most exciting part that I've seen is where, again, it goes down to, can the consumer be satisfied by what the solution's delivering? So the examples of effectively understanding what the consumer preference is, not by having to talk to the consumer, but just understanding their behaviour. So is that consumer at home in the morning or the afternoon? You haven't asked them, but your intelligence is saying that's when they're at home. What's the locker that they use as choice? Now, it might not be the one that's 50 metres from their home. It's nearly a kilometre away, but it's on the route they take to walk their dog. And that's the locker that they use. So it's understanding those preferences, and within those gazillion terabytes of data, where's the nugget that tells you, I'm now going to learn to satisfy the consumer, but I'm going to become more efficient because of it.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's what excites me, is understanding people's behaviours, and if you satisfy their desires and you get optimised at the same time, then everyone's winning.
And why not, with more understanding, building new products? And now let's talk about WMX Europe, Rome edition. Which is your feeling till now? And about EU postal business, which are the next big things in terms of changes?
Yeah, WMX is an event that I've been going to for years. And the real value that it brings is the fact that you actually connect physically with people, and you have the conversations that are inspired by what you've seen, and you're understanding what their ideas for the marketplace are. Because the experience that I've got, I'm lucky to have had that experience, but it's nothing unless it can be validated through a conversation with someone like yourself.
Sharing experience.
Exactly, and it's those shared experience. So I take great value from that. The awards is fantastic as well, because you celebrate the success, and in those awards you see how people are actually designing success for the future.
Their commitment.
Yes, and when it comes to the future, I think posts are often much maligned because they're seen as being backward looking, but I think we're just looking here at Post Italian, which is one of the most profitable posts in the world, because it has retained its diversity. It's cross-fertilising across that. So if a post is evolving over time, then it should survive. So I think how posts meet, again, comes back to consumer requirements. They're probably better placed than most people. Royal Mail, I know the UK better than anyone else, they're putting 100,000 people in contact with customers nearly every day. There's massive value in that. So it's how do you leverage that customer relationship?
The human contact.
Exactly. So we can have all the technology in the world, but if you don't have someone doing the human side of it, you're not going to succeed.
Michael, it was absolutely a pleasure. Hope to see you soon or next year at next WMX.
Yeah. Thanks very much.